Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is continuing on the subject of healing the divine masculine, my personal journey. This is David. My introduction. This is a series based on my personal journey. I've experienced a lot and learned a lot in 67 years on planet Earth. I wanted to share what I've learned with younger men so that they may benefit. We all have a story to tell, and we can rewrite our story. We all must find our own path, and I hope you enjoy this journey with me. So, what is the divine masculine? What's the definition of divine masculine? Let's explore some words and ideas. This is part two of this topic. Part one was last week, and there's just a few things that I left out and a few things I wanted to elaborate on. So, the topics to be discussed are the concept of divine marriage, intimacy, attuned to her, love languages, attachment styles, working with our hands, some more on the concept of grounding, the concept of semen retention, and necessary conversations. So, the divine marriage. In the previous presentation, I discussed some traits of the divine masculine: courage, leadership, loyalty, honesty, truth, empathy, compassion, and patience. And we can consider this list a combination of masculine and feminine traits. Basically, the last three or four would be the feminine, the first four or so are the masculine. So I wanted to take this idea further and present the topic of divine marriage. I first learned of this from the Ascension Glossary, which is a website I've mentioned earlier in previous presentations. There's a Greek term used here, hieros gamos, meaning the wedded garment of God or the white robes of the One. And the term hieros gamos is used generally to refer to the sacred marriage between two divinities, or between a human being and Mother and Father God, or between two human beings under certain special conditions. The ultimate alchemy of forces which harmonize polar opposites. So that's her definition from Ascension Glossary. I particularly like the last phrase, the ultimate alchemy of forces which harmonize polar opposites. Since we are all made up of both masculine and feminine energies, we are influenced by these forces and archetypes. This is also sometimes referred to as Christos Sophia, Christos being referring to the masculine energy and Sophia referring to the feminine energy. By seeking inner balance through the perfect union made between the masculine and feminine forces, the consciousness is made into the image of God through the hierogamic union of the inner Christos Sophia. This is represented in the spiritual alchemy of unified polarities, the hierogamic union of a god and goddess, a perfected being. The perfect balance and union between masculine and feminine principles, united as one, as our true destiny of spiritual freedom. This is from the sister website to Ascension Glossary called Energetic Synthesis, in an article that the author wrote back in 2015 called The Masculine Wound. Fits right in with the topic here. The perfect balance and union between masculine and feminine principles, united as one, is our true destiny of spiritual freedom. Hieros Gamos is a sacrament that represents sacred marriage at the individual level, to the relationship level, to the group level, as a part of spiritual ascension, moving through the spiraling staircase of time to experience unification with or marry all aspects of God. So we need to start at the individual level, inside of ourselves, to bring together, to alchemize and harmonize the masculine and feminine energies in union within ourselves. This goes to the topic of, in order to love somebody, we need to love ourselves. Because if we take the meaning of love as being to take someone in as a part of yourself, then we will love them as we love ourselves. So we need to do this internal marriage of the divine marriage of the divine masculine and feminine energies inside of us first. That's what I'm trying to say here. So the next topic is the one of the word intimacy. And I found this very good description here. Intimacy in a relationship refers to a deep sense of emotional closeness and connection with another person, where you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts, feelings, and experiences openly, often involving a high level of trust, vulnerability, and acceptance between partners. It's not solely about physical intimacy, but encompasses various aspects like emotional, intellectual, and spiritual connection as well. In fact, I would say that those last three, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, need to come first before the real physical intimacy and sexual alchemy can take place to where we can have the divine union. Here's a quote that I really loved from Teal Swan. She says, "If men could learn one thing about women, it is to understand how much fear women live in each day." Why is this so important? Well, when I read this, I understand the need for her to feel safe in the relationship so that she can express herself without fear. That is the only way to get to this level of intimacy that we're talking about here that's in this definition. Um, this is something that I have recently dove into and learned. It's not something that we are taught. One of the many topics of manhood and relationships never discussed when we were younger, which is unfortunate. And because we were so focused on reading, writing, and arithmetic, which never led to a successful relationship. All of these things are missing in our society right now. And that's why I'm trying to shine a light on some of them. So the next topic along those same lines is to attune to her. So in the last episode, I used the phrase learn to tune into her. I did not do this in my last relationship, and I, for one, pride myself on being able to read people, the words they use, their body language, facial expressions. I'm pretty good at it. And I didn't do that in my relationship. For some reason, that I never. It's what happens when we're not completely conscious. Um, and I think that relationships actually, because of what they do to us, trauma wise or trauma bonding wise, we can lose that focus on being conscious, or what I refer to as being in the relationship. Very painful lessons. We really have to learn to pay attention to the little things, the subtle gestures, the comments. Okay. And it takes a desire to do this, practice and presence in the moment. In other words, being very conscious of her, using this particular example. The next one is a phrase that I used in the last episode called love languages. And I just kind of brushed by it. I wanted to come back to this. This was defined in the book, The Five Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts. And these are the five: quality time, words of encouragement, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. My three happen to be physical touch, quality time, and words of encouragement. I would highly recommend that you read the book and learn what your top three are, and what her top three are, something that can be discussed. He gives some great examples of he does couples therapy, and as he learned this and started using it in his couples therapy, a lot of couples had a lot of success with creating stronger relationships. Another topic that I brushed by was one called attachment styles, and this seems to be a new topic making the rounds of relationship therapy. It's something I came across just a couple of years ago. Don't remember exactly how, but I found a very good book titled Secure Love. I actually found this woman on Facebook, but she's on Facebook, she's on Threads, she's probably on Twitter. I haven't found her there yet, but I haven't looked. And in the book, or in this idea, there's four attachment styles: avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, disorganized attachment, and secure attachment. The goal being secure attachment. I seem to be the disorganized attachment, which is some kind of combination of the first two, avoidant and anxious. Anxious is very interesting. It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Because you need that constant feedback. Avoidant attachment is just afraid to really get into the relationship because of your wounds and your traumas. So I would highly recommend this. Secure Love is a very good place to start. The first three are usually the result of some childhood trauma, which is, of course, a recurring theme in all of this self analysis. The next topic is working with our hands. There's really two parts to this: is learning to use our hands on her, and then learning to do manly things. So the first one should be obvious. I'm not going to go into that. This isn't a lesson in how to give a massage to your partner or anything like that. I want to talk about the fact that I'm a believer that all men need to learn to do manly things around the house. Things like little electrical and plumbing and just being able to fix shit. I just saw a video today about it was a joke. It was a stand-up comedian basically asking questions on a date. And when she got to the point, do you live in an apartment or do you own a house? And if the response is, oh, you live in an apartment, that means you can't fix shit. Or you can't fix anything. I thought that was just hilarious. It's not quite true because I was able to fix things while I lived in apartments. But when you live in a house, you need to learn how to fix some things. All right. Which doesn't mean that we should all be able to wire or plumb a house, although that would be a good goal. I really do think that we need to bring back the trades. It's very important. Electricians, plumbers, carpenters, small engine repair, things like that. But we need to be able to do some things. For example, changing the float valve and the flapper in the toilet. You know, when the toilet starts leaking or starts running constantly, it takes about 20 minutes to fix those things. And it's not rocket science. All right, but you just gotta be able to do it. And don't be afraid. All you gotta do is remember to turn the water off. But these types of things that many people would call a plumber or an electrician for today, we need to be able to do these things. All right. So some of the things I've done, for example, around my latest cabin in the woods here, are run more outlets in my crawl space because I set up a dehumidifier and a fan down there and some lights. So I ran like 3 or 4 outlets. I connected my generator all the way to my panel, so my generator is outside, but I have it wired all the way through my crawl space and under the floor up into my panel, my electrical panel. I found a guy on YouTube who did exactly what I wanted to do. He had 5 videos, and it was perfect. And I also installed a whole house water filter system down in my crawl space. And the first place to start to learn these things is YouTube videos. Anything and everything is there. It's just anytime I need to learn something, right now I need to change the chain, a pull chain on my lamp that is sitting next to me at my desk. One of the chains doesn't work anymore. So I went to YouTube and watched the video. Okay. It's just that simple. And you just get past the fear of doing something. It's really necessary for us as men to be able to do this. The women will love you. Another topic from the last time was grounding. I did a whole slide on grounding, so I wanted to go back into this a little bit more on grounding. So, in order to be the container, the phrase I used, we as men have to really ground ourselves in our bodies more than in our thoughts. This is hard to do in this world of internet, social media, sitting on our butts, etc. And I'm experiencing this too. This whole internet thing. When I look back on the pre-internet days, I was able to concentrate better, longer periods of time, a lot less distractions. Um, Not always a healthy thing. But so how do we do this? How do we ground ourselves? This is the part I left out the last week. First of all, get outside every day. Even if it's just walk outside, look at the sky, look at the sun, look at the trees, wherever you're at. Walk in the grass if you can, barefoot. That's called grounding. And your feet have sensors on the bottom that are designed to be in contact with Mother Earth. Or just stand or sit, close your eyes, and imagine yourself growing roots like a tree. Just imagine yourself growing down into Mother Earth. Go all the way to the center, if you want, of the Earth. And just picture that. And and then just, I even say to myself, I'll stand there and just say, Mother Earth, thank you for allowing me to share this sacred space as I ground myself in this body on this beautiful planet. And I do that every morning as part of my morning rituals. Another topic that came across my path the last couple of years is semen retention. This is another one I wish we were taught when we were young. A man's semen is his life force. We expel our life force when we ejaculate. And when we ejaculating for mere pleasure reduces our life force, our strength, our courage, even our life duration. This is kind of what's behind the story of Samson and Delilah when she seduces Samson, and then she's able to cut his hair because he's lost his strength and his life force. There's a YouTube channel titled Teachings of the Wise that I recommend you watch to learn more about this and to learn why this is so important. Another thing that I learned from another channel was there's a chemical change that happens in men at that moment that the life force is expelled. And it's on a channel called Astral Doorway. He's got a couple videos on this subject too. And he talks about the chemical change that happens. Highly recommend to go watch these things. Semen retention goes back to ancient Taoism, yogic traditions, and many more. Of course, monks, whether it's Buddhist monks or Tibetan Buddhist monks or whatever, they're always practicing semen retention because they're taking that life force for their spiritual work. One of the current Taoist masters on our planet, Montauk Chia, wrote a book that was a big hit. I just came across it a few years ago. It's called The Multi-Orgasmic Man. But he talks about semen retention and exercises that you can do, and you'll find them all over YouTube with Kegel exercises and stuff. But I think it's one of the most important practices we can learn as men. And I have read or some women who say they can sense a man who practices semen retention as it increases his life force. So there, because we are energetically connected to each other, the women who are in tune with your energy, they can sense this. They can sense that you're practicing this and they like it. It means that you have mastery over the desires of the physical body. And that's what these women are really craving. You have mastered yourself. I mentioned that in the last video. The last topic is called necessary conversations. I can't believe I left this out of the last episode as it's one of the most important lessons I have had to learn and one of the most painful, and it's also one of the most difficult. But it's also the reason why I believe listening, breathing, grounding ourselves, and semen retention are so important. Because a man in a relationship must not only sit and have the necessary conversations, but he must initiate them. And I've always failed at this as I was not secure in myself. If we're not secure in ourselves, we are going to be afraid to initiate the conversation. And then if she initiates the conversation, we are going to get defensive quickly. We're not going to be able to handle it. We're not going to be able to sit there and listen. And this is where things go sideways and it gets really bad. And I've done it so many times. And I just believe that all of us as men need to have these practices such as listening, breathing, grounding, semen retention in order to build up our strength so that we can have the necessary conversations and even initiate them. Because when something is left unsaid for too long, it grows and takes on a life of its own. And this is what we don't want to have happen. I hope this makes sense. I hope you guys will do this. Take it upon yourselves and force yourself to have the necessary conversations with your partner. And if she wants to have the conversation, you're not ready, tell her, I'd love to have this conversation with you, but I need a few minutes. All right. Remember, we don't want to raise our voice. We have to be the calm in the storm. We don't want to lose our temper. We must be the calm in the storm. But if we feel ourselves agitated or ready to explode, then we need to excuse ourselves before we have this conversation, whatever the conversation is. We have to learn to do that. Not easy, obviously, but part of the journey. We got to force ourselves to do this. Okay. So that was it. These are all the topics that we just went over. Divine marriage, intimacy, attuned to her, working with our hands, love languages, attachment styles, grounding, semen retention, and necessary conversations. In summary, all of this is from what I've learned, what I've experienced, mistakes I have made, successes I've had, and a few visions along the way. This was just an exploration of some of my insights, added to some ideas from others. You will add your own insights and have your own experiences and even dismiss some of mine. That's okay. We're all creating our own unique path in this universe. And that's the end for this week. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I know it's a lot. I wanted to share this awakening journey with you. The next one will be in about a week, and we'll get back to, I think I'll do the Dark Night of the Soul, which is what I promised last week, but we'll do the Dark Night of the Soul next week. And but I just had to go back over some of these. I just felt that they were so important that I wanted to do a second part of this. So I hope you enjoyed it, and have a wonderful week. Bye now.